Hi and welcome back to
Inspired to Game. I'm Sean.
And I am Lola. Today we are talking about this very heavy game called Mythwind. This is by Open Owl Studios. It's a 1 to 4 player game, an open world campaign adventure. Now before we get into a review of it, we'll give you a quick overview of how it plays. Mythwind is an open-world sandbox adventure game where everybody plays asymmetrical characters. A game spans a season, which is organized into days with dawn, day, and dusk activities. In dawn, a weather card is drawn for the day, which may signal some rewards or challenges that you may face. Certain weather cards may advance the storyline through events, or advance the production queue of buildings waiting to be constructed. Some characters may also have dawn-specific activities to do at this time. As time progresses into daylight, each character can send their miniature into town to perform an action. Now this is going to be things like going on an adventure, hiring workers, constructing a building or clearing land, or using an action location of a previously constructed building. Once everyone has completed their town action, they will delve into their personal character actions for the day. Before we go on, we'll introduce each one of these characters and tell you exactly what they do in the town. The farmer plays with the polynomial-style field where they will plant, tend, and harvest crops while managing livestock and utilizing equipment to maximize their productivity.
The ranger spends his time in town stocking up on tools before gathering a selection to head out on an expedition. These expeditions take him away from town for days at a time, where he will use those tools to gather goods for sale back in town, where the cycle begins again.
The crafter creates various goods for the villagers through refinement actions to fulfill requests, all while building reputation to maximize profits.
The Innkeeper is a character from the Expanded Horizons expansion. Each day, she welcomes guests to the inn and sets about fulfilling their requests. A table by the window, a mug of ale by the fire, or a spot of dinner theater, to name a few. Satisfied guests increase the renown of the inn. More renown means more guests, depending on the weather.
The merchant manages a market of goods dealing with market fluctuations while competing with rivals and trying to fulfill customer requests, all for the purpose of maximizing profits. Finally, dusk arrives and a new day is prepared for. The game continues like this until the weather deck is empty, signaling the end of the season. At this point, you can save the game or continue on into the next season. This game is enchanting. I absolutely adore it. I think it is about the coziest game I have ever played. So essentially there's two parts to this game. There is the town development aspect, and then there is the character development aspect. And what makes this game a little bit unique as far as campaign games go is there's absolutely zero combat in it. And that's part of what makes it so cozy too. It's the theme, and it's the lack of combat, and it's more of the theme, and it's just so gorgeous. So the whole game just revolves around that development. So the town actions are shared. We share this town, and you begin by being able to develop it. You start with one building, and that's a worker placement location. Now you can clear 4 spaces and then place down new buildings. What's fun about that is that you don't get to place them immediately. Once you have all the resources you're required to build it, it goes into a production queue, which takes some time, and the weather affects how it develops as well. What I really like, though, is that you get to decide what buildings to make, and there's a huge stack of possibilities. And there are pathways too, so if there's one building you really want to make, but it requires this one building, which requires a previous building, you need to kind of plan out your route to get there. So as you build the buildings, each one is its own worker placement location, which is really unique, because it's a worker placement game with that element of it, but you get to design it because you're choosing the buildings to build, and that is so much fun. And then from there, you have your character actions. Now, every person has their own character that is essentially like its own mini solo game. They all play completely differently. One has a polyomino style game, one has a hand management style. Each one uses different mechanisms and is unlike the other completely.
It's neat to have those different characters, so everybody's playing a different personal game with the building of the town in the background, almost, as it were.
Yeah, so as far as the structure goes, the first part of the day after the weather is dealt with, it's the town actions and then your personal actions. So you're all doing that simultaneously, each to your own. Nobody affects each other there. It's like a solo game. But what I love about the characters too is they are completely interchangeable. You don't choose one and you play it here on forever after, or you can if that's what you want to do. But you can play through the different characters. You can try different ones between seasons, and you can save their progress if you want to, or reset it to restart again. You can try them all. It's all up to you. I love the flexibility of that.
Yeah, and the mechanism of how these characters are saved is fantastic. Everybody has their own personal tray. It's a different shape within to contain all the components you would use for that character. It has its own lid. Everything in here has its own lid. The town board, they're dual layer boards, but the second layer is plastic, not cardboard. And it just makes it molded in such a way so that when you put cards in, there's a raised center, so you can push on an edge and it raises the other edge so you can pick them up easily. Everything goes together so nice and so neatly and so compactly. This is a lot of game in such a tiny little box. I was expecting something at least 4 inches taller and maybe 2 inches deeper. It's just a lot, and it's a lot to unpack. So does it.
Physically, yeah. Well, and we were so impressed by that because it is this small footprint, but it has so much game in it, and it's so well organized. Even how that box has the divots in the side so you can pull out all these trays. Yeah, and this game literally takes under 5 minutes to set up, which is incredible. And I never really thought setup really matters, because I like to play big heavy games that might take, and Vanguard, like, you know, things that might take an hour to set up. But the problem is those games don't tend to make it to the table very much. Unfortunately, you may love them, but it is a barrier to play, having a very long setup. It's just a fact. So having something that plays, that sets up so fast, it means this game makes it to the table a lot more. Since we got it, we've played so many games, and we'll play about maybe 4 a week, and it's easy to pull out even on a weeknight, because we can pull out a game in about an hour and a half, and that includes setup, which makes it doable to get to the table quite frequently. And that all comes down to those trays, where everything is nicely saved, where everything is set up for you. It's just a pleasure to both set up as well as to take down.
As well as to play, by the way, because we made that clear already. What'd you do last night? We took out Mythwind, put it on the table, and then we put it right back in the box. It was glorious.
The attention to detail with the components is really phenomenal.
The tokens as well, there's a section, there's a divider for the dice that you've locked and unlocked. Like, everything is been thought out and designed, and the trays. Yeah.
And I don't think we talked about those dice too much in the overview. So those are workers you can get to help you in your character actions. There are sprites and there are workers, and they have different alignments. These help to make your character actions more powerful. So you can go to town as one of your worker placement actions to hire some of these workers. You pip them down as you use them. So it's a really nice mechanic to the game that I really enjoy. And the artwork is obviously amazing. It's absolutely beautiful, and really was the first thing that drew me into the campaign when we first saw it. Part of it was the theme of it, which was so beautiful and lovely, and then the artwork. The minis are exquisite. I swear, I think these are the nicest minis I have ever seen. The detailing on the different characters is beautiful. I'm lost for words. The sprites are absolutely adorable too.
I should mention that the sprite minis that you might see, those are also an additional upgrade.
Yes, and it's worth getting those too because they are so delightful. And another thing that makes this game particularly cozy, other than the cozy theme of it and the no combat, is that there are no winners or losers. It is an experience. It is an adventure. So you don't have that extra little bit of stress that comes from competition for us very competitive people. It's relaxing. It is peaceful. It is zen. One of the locations you can go to in the worker placement is an adventure spot where you can then pull the next adventure card and have an adventure. They might have certain repercussions based on a decision that you make. It unfolds around you. You develop the town, create new buildings, you develop your character, get them stronger, make lots of money, have different interactions with sprites. The events that happen regularly are a fun addition too as the story advances, and you have some secret unlocks that happen that are a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the events are also a branching storyline depending on what you have done in the town, what you have going on in the town, how many of certain workers you have. You will see a different branch of that story depending on what you've got going on.
Yeah. It's really fun letting that story unfold while you just plug away, developing your town, developing your character, and that is so cozy. And I think it really balances it well, that element of the collaborative play with developing the town alongside the solo play of developing your character. So it gives you that little bit of interaction with developing things, but at the same time you've got your own story. So this actually makes a fantastic solo game, but it is so nice to play with other people too, as long as you don't feel you really need high interaction. This does not have high interaction. You know, you read the events together, you make choices together, you decide what to develop in the town together, but other than that, it's not a huge amount of interactions together as players. The modular play of it as well makes it easy to drop out or drop in. So it's a campaign game that you don't have to worry about having a steady, regular amount of players for it. You can play with one person one time, another person with another time. It's very easy to do that. It's also easy entry. So this is not a super complex game that only very experienced gamers can play. Anybody can play this game. It's nice and simple that way. And you can drop in, drop out, and change. You can reset characters, or somebody can continue playing off of a character that somebody's already started too. Now, once you finish the story, that is a natural ending to the game. However, you can keep playing. So this is a never-ending game. You can keep developing things, your character in the town. Now, having said that, I do feel like we haven't completed the story yet, but we have fully developed the town to as far as we really want to take it, because there's only so many spaces and we have the max level of each thing that we really want in our town. Now, playing with some of the characters too, we feel like we've maxed out their potential. And when you've really maxed out their potential, there is less excitement in playing it because, you know, you're making scores of money off of every turn, and it just kind of loses its straw. So for us, what we figure is we will reach a point in time once a story is completed that will likely reset it to play again. But it was so fun playing that it is worth doing that. Yeah. One of my favorite parts was clearing the forest and choosing the buildings and building the buildings. I think I totally took over that part of the game.
Yeah, she is the mayor, for sure.
I'm
the
telling
architect.
And I'm getting his agreement. So this is what we're going to make next because of this, because of that. Does
City
it sound
planner,
good?
that's what it is.
So that was actually my favorite part of it, was developing all that. So resetting it and starting it again will provide an opportunity to go through that again. So each time you can make different decisions, you can start your characters over and build them back up again, and that's a ton of fun. Now, having said this, there is a new campaign coming out for a reprinting of Mythwind with some new content, and I am over the moon excited about this, because to me that's next level. Because as we reach the point where we feel like, oh, we're maxing out what we've got because we've been playing it practically non-stop, we want to go further. So the idea that there's more content coming out is really, really exciting.
And currently there is the Expanding Horizons, which gives you the Innkeeper as a 5th character and an additional storyline, and also a smaller one of the Winds of Magic, which is also another little mini storyline. And I thought there was another little smaller event pack that I don't know how available that is. That is also another little mini storyline. So there is existing stuff that adds some extra storylines, but then this new campaign is going to bring even more.
And that's why I figure we haven't finished the storyline yet, is because we did put all the expansion content together from the start. So we probably would be done the base storyline if we hadn't done that. Now, the only limitations, there is some errata here and there, as to be expected with a campaign of this scope. There's lots of information online to clear up anything that you need, and because of this too, I do recommend that it doesn't hurt to watch the official YouTube videos of how to play each character. For the first little while, I was playing the crafter wrong, and it took watching the video that let us see how we were doing that wrong, and it made such a huge difference to the game. So watch those to just make sure you're playing it right. Overall, I gotta say, I love this game, if that was not clear. This is in my top 2 campaign games of all time. It's sweet, it's cozy, it's fun and engaging, and I just want more of it.
Yeah, it leaves you with a sense of accomplishment, as opposed to something like Gloomhaven, where you can get your butt kicked and have to play the whole thing over again.
Gloomhaven's still good though too.
Gloomhaven's still good.
That's still in my top 10 campaign games. So when the link to the new campaign comes out, we will put that in the description down below. This is a great one to jump on if it's something that interests you. Thank you so much for watching us today.
If you've enjoyed this video, please support the channel by subscribing if you haven't already.
And as always, happy gaming, folks. As the day progresses into day,
I don't know how to do that.
The farmer plays.
See what you done to her. Too much game.
Venture, hiring workers, advancing a production. No, you don't get to advance a production queue. Okay.
Today's episode is brought to you by the word absolutely.
The game continues until the weather deck is empty, signaling the end of the sentence. Artwork, exquisite.
Chef's kiss. Mwah.
Okay. Can something be cobbled out of that? Why is it so hard? Okay, I'm gonna do one last time. I say satisfying so often. Everything's so satisfying.
It's like butter.
I like butter. You could begin the next season and play some more. Keep on saying enchanted.
Enchanté.
Okay, yeah, I got it.
What is it? What is it?
Is that there? So there are easier ones, which are a little bit easier to play, and difficult ones, more difficult to play.
They each have a lot of. They each have a. Sorry. They each have a. Wow, that's gonna be a blooper. Back with getting whacked in the back of the head by something.
Yeah.
Every time she went into the forest.
I kept on going on adventures of getting hit on the head and being knocked unconscious and losing something. One point is, I'm not going on adventures anymore. But I did, and it got better.
Yeah. It's fun to read the events in little voices.
Yeah.
Lola has sprite voices, I have sprite voices.
Yours are the best sprite voices. Overall, this game absolutely blew me out of the water.
Speechless. Left me speechless.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. That's not going to be anywhere. You're not going to see that.
Who knows? I could put it at the end.
Alrighty then.
Alrighty then.